Welcome to the studio tour. It's been a long-awaited video, all about 10 of you have been asking me for. So here we go. This is the studio. This is where I get all my work done. This is where all the procrastination happens. So enjoy. First, we'll start with the gear that I use the least amount is this Superman guitar. And the reason why is because this is actually a guitar that I got from Six Flags from one of those like carnival games. And it does work. It is a real guitar, but it's a really cheap guitar. Like you can't really tell the wood quality, but the wood quality is not that good. The neck kind of sucks. I also put cool like colored strings, which don't sound very good, but it doesn't need to sound good. Back there is the uninteresting stuff. I have a bunch of drumsticks, guitar strings, another broken guitar. Some of my friends found this in a dumpster, and so they gave it to me as a Christmas present one year, and it wasn't working, which isn't super surprising. Here, let me show you. I opened it up, and it turns out the wiring is all messed up, so I need to get new switches, new tone knobs, and then probably new pickups. The pickups probably work, but they're rusty. They're kind of gross. So this is like on the backlog of things I have to do. Then here are just an assortment of drum mics that I use. They're just not on the drums right now, but I got this Pile. The company's called Pile. They make really cheap mics. And so I got this drum set mic kit. And so these just clip onto the drums and they sound pretty good. Got a cool little cowbell from France that I got at a garage sale. All my extra drumsticks because they break all the time, as you can see right here, a broken drumstick. If it focuses. Focus. I need the B-roll. Broken drumstick. Keep it there just so it knows this place. Alright, next up is the drum set, which also has a story. Most of these instruments have stories, so please bear with me while I explain. So this drum set I got actually from a friend back in college. And so this friend, he had a house and his neighbors were throwing out a drum set, which was this one. And so it was on the side of the road. He asked them if he could take it, and they said sure. So he took it, but he was a guitar player, and so he knew I played drums, so he asked me if I wanted it. And of course, I'm going to take a free drum set. So I don't even know the brand. I don't think it has a brand. It may be like a starter kit, but I put Remo heads on it. And so the toms have Remo heads, and then I just put this drum head, which is red. So it fits the blue theme of the drums really well. And then I think the kick also has the Evans head. And for cymbals, I just use Zildjian Crash. This one has gotten a little bit of use out of it. But I've had this one since high school. This is a Crash Ride. It sounds okay. It's not the best, but they sound good enough for recordings. What else am I going to show? This is a stack cymbal. So this is a crash cymbal, and under it there is a splash cymbal. And so it's a stack, and it sounds cool. Then I have this Meinl hi-hat, and I got it because I think it sounds cool. It sounds really good, but the main reason I got it is because of the color. You can see my professional drum stool, which is just a random bar stool that I had lying around the house, and it's way too tall, so it's really awkward to drum on this set just because of that. But you get used to it. Down here I have the necessary heater for the basement because this basement doesn't have central heating, so this is how I stay alive during the winter. Next up is my bass. This is a Squier jazz bass. It sounds pretty good. The internals aren't the best. It has like a buzzing sound, so if I take my hands off of the bass strings, then it starts buzzing. So for recording it's not best, for live shows it's not best. It does the job. I do like how it sounds, so when it's not buzzing it sounds really good. Next up is my PRS. So this is a PRS SE, I think that's special edition, that's what it stands for. And it's the Paul Allender signature model, which I don't really know who he is to be honest. But his guitar is sick. And so actually this is his old signature model. The new one he has, I checked, is like green and black, which also looks pretty cool, but I really like the purple and gold. So typically PRSs have birds on their necks, which I really like, but this one, as you can see, has bats, which I wasn't sure if I liked at first, and I'm not sure that I like it more than the birds, but it looks sick. And since not many PRSs have that, it makes it even more special. Next up is my acoustic. It's just a standard Fender acoustic, and it's the smaller size. It's the travel size guitar or whatever. And so while this one's really fun to play and it feels really nice, if I want to record, I don't usually like using this one because it's a little dull. So usually for recording, I have to ask my friend Michael to borrow his guitar, which is that Yamaha over there. And so that Yamaha is dreadnought size, so it's big and it sounds really good. And the only problem is it's not mine, so I have to ask Michael to use it. Right now, as you can see, I'm using it because I've been recording acoustic, so thank you, Michael, for letting me borrow that. Finally, the last guitar is the Schecter. Bam, Schecter. And this is probably my favorite guitar. One, because it's just clean looking. I really like the outline that goes all the way down the neck, and it sounds really good. Between this and the PRS, this one's a little warmer. It's nicer for clean guitar sounds. It's a little nicer for chords. PRS is a little harsher, but they're both pretty good. They both sound really solid. Here is my cajon. Then over here is my guitar amp, which I don't use all that often because I used to use it all the time for gigs, and with COVID, obviously we're not gigging very much. Yeah, it's really nice. It's a Vox AC15. It sounds great, and I do use it on some recordings. Some of my songs have used it, but I typically just like plugging straight into my computer and using the plugins when I record guitar, because it's so much easier to do that than set up a mic and then make sure all the settings are right. So it's a great amp. I just don't use it as much because we're not gigging. Before I go to the computer setup, I want to talk about these speakers. These are Martin Logan Sequel 2s. These two specific speakers were made in 1989, and they are electrostatic speakers. So the way these work is there's like a plastic sheet. I don't think it's actually plastic, it's some other material, but it's a really thin sheet. And so on this sheet, there are these metal wires that go around it that form these little circles. The metal wires create a little electric field, which buzzes and makes the little circle that it encompasses, it makes it vibrate. And so that's how it creates sound. And so instead of getting a single source of sound like you do in a typical speaker, this whole section outputs sound. And so you get a huge wall of sound just coming at you. It's a pretty different experience, and they sound really good. Onto the computer setup. So most of my setup is actually run on my Mac, which is up there. I'll probably put the specs up on the screen somewhere if someone's interested. So this Mac here is outputting to these two monitors as well, and then it's also connected to all the music gear. So first I have this interface. So this is how I mic up everything. This is a PreSonus Fire Studio. It's a pretty old interface. I've been using this for years now, and it sounds great. It does all the things that I need. I also have one of these like headphone amplifier splitter things, which also works really well. Then back here, ignore all the wires. With music studios, obviously it's super hard to organize the wires, because if I have to mic up the drums, it's a mess. It's awful. So this is how bad it gets just with 3 things plugged in. So you can imagine how it looks with 8. I have storage. For MIDI, I typically use this. You have full-size keys. I have a pedal under it. This is the way I like to compose most of my piano stuff. I use these M50Xs or Audio-Technica M50Xs. I mainly use them for mixing because they're pretty flat and they're good for mixing. And as you can tell, I've had them for a long time. They're like 7 or 8 years old at least. So they've seen better days, but I love them. And so now that they look like this, I don't really take them anywhere, but they still sound just as good. I use this is a SM57 with a pop filter. Bam, this is how it looks. And I usually use it for scratch vocals, so that's why I have this little pop filter on it. I don't track vocals on it, and for that I track vocals on that mic up there. So I guess that takes me to the vocal mic. Bam. So this is actually, I have the exact same one over here, except this one's broken. So this is the mic. It's a MXL V67. I don't know if you can see here, but I wrote B on it because this one's broken. This was the first one I had. I had it like 7 or 8 years ago, and it died on me last year. So I think it just from old age it died. I keep it as a prop, and so I liked it so much, and it was reasonably priced. It was like 70 bucks. So I got it again. As you can see, I have 2 pop filters on it, and then one of these like soundproof things, which works really well in the basement because the basement has so much random noise. Behind those curtains is actually an AC unit, and it's really loud, so I put up these curtains with my dad to reduce that noise, and then on top of that I use this. Over here is my work setup slash streaming setup, so when I do any screen recordings I use that computer. I'll play games off of it too. And so yeah, I'll put the specs up here if anyone's interested. Last thing I guess is this mess. I have this MPK Mini, which I really like. I originally got just for the pads because I had this other keyboard already. So I was like, I need drum pads to program drums, so I use this, and it's really good for portability. So if I go on trips, I always take this just so I can have a keyboard. And then the rest of it is mainly camera stuff. I have this microphone, portable microphone. I have all these camera batteries, camera stabilizer, phone mount, and then chargers, lenses, filters, and that's about it. Rocket League cars. That's the studio. I got the plant. Yeah, the plant that I have to move every couple of days so it gets sunlight, since there's not much natural sunlight in the basement, unfortunately. So there you go, that was a tour of the basement studio, the one and only, the beautiful basement studio. If you made it this far, thank you. Hopefully it was entertaining. Hopefully the stories behind the instruments were fun. And thanks for watching. And subscribe and like and comment. Watch out for the next video because it'll be a banger as usual. So, peace. Peace. I missed.